Revenue, it's a big deal. It's what every KPI, it's what all the goals, everything in our business is associated with this term revenue. It's a big conversation. It's one to be had, and it's one we're having right here today on ActionCAST. Hey, and welcome to ActionCAST. I am Cadi, your host, and today we are having a big conversation. Hopefully it's a big conversation because it's all about revenue. And that is something
about revenue.
Exactly. It's the things dreams are made of. We actually were talking before the show and we're like, as kids, we were like, I'm going to make $1 million. And those dreams never die. That is like that startup agency owner. That's their dream. I'm going to make $1 million. And I feel like they're never talking personally. It's this revenue number. It's almost a vanity metric at some point, and especially early in our career. And so today we have Clint Nobles, and he is the co-founder of Home Care Ops. He has these conversations as on a daily basis. This is his meat and potatoes. Welcome to the program, Clint.
Thank you very much. It is my meat and potatoes. I like me some gravy on those potatoes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fantastic. This is like my realm when dealing with action leaders, talking to those agencies that are in the home care boardroom, and those 7, 8, 9, 10-figure businesses. This is a conversation that you have all the time, right?
Right. I was just going to say, this is the conversation that carries through startup, and this never goes away. This is an important conversation. And when I had you were going to get to be the one that I talked to about revenue today, my excitement was you do talk to everyone from probably about $1 million agency plus up to 10, 20, $100 million agencies. These are your daily conversations that you have, and you're talking with them about the strategic points in their business to do that. So, man, I had like this rush of ideas for what can we talk about? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? And honestly, I feel like the conversation I wanted to start is to cut right to the chase and say, for those owners that are out there, what is the difference between a 7-figure agency owner and an 8-figure agency owner? You deal with both so much, and I feel like that is like right in your niche area there. So what is that difference, that mindset of a 7-figure and an 8-figure?
So great question. And if you are currently right now at a 7-figure business, right? Or a 6-figure business going to 7, it doesn't matter. This is the question you should be asking. How do I get to there, right? And there's a host of things that you can say tactically that they do, right? As when you hit 5 million, your problems become different in your business. When you hit 10 million, you have different problems. Jeff Weiberg was talking to our home care boardroom members, and he was saying you have to kind of reinvent yourself several times in your business. And that's probably one of the things that is the biggest element. And if you're at a 7-figure agency and you're like, what is something I can do to hit 8 figures or to grow another $1 million in my business, I can tell you there's a couple of things. Okay. Number one, Jessica every month accepts 10 people, 10 owners to come in and do what she calls a 10-minute $1 million call. And it's a one-on-one call. You get 10 minutes. And basically at the end of this, you walk away with a clear plan and path to gain $1 million in revenue in your business. And I tell you, if you're interested in seeing if you qualify for this, because it's right application only, in the comments here, put the word million. Okay, put the word million in the comment, and our team is going to DM you a special link and kind of let you know how you can apply for this, because there's only 10 owners a month that she does this with. So that's number one. Action number one: get on a call with Jessica. Number two is those that are at 10 million and above, that 8-figure, 9-figure, right? 10-figure, whatever the amount of zeros you have, there's one thing that they do better than someone who is not there. So that if you're a 7-figure, you do this better than someone who's at 6. If you're at 8, you do it better than someone's at 7. And it's not actually make more money. What they do better is they solve more problems. And that's why at Home Care Ops, right, we scale home care businesses. That's what we do. We scale home care businesses. How we do that is by helping owners solve more problems. Because at the end of the day, and I tell you, this is something it took me a long time to listen, or a long time to learn. So if you're driving, you're multitasking, whatever you're doing, like pay attention right now. Because I had to realize that revenue was not my outcome. I had to stop chasing revenue in my business. And when we go into this conversation of revenue, everybody is like, how do I add revenue? What are things I can do to add revenue? I mean, you're probably watching this and you're like, what are the 4 things I can do to add revenue, right? Get more clients, right? Whatever. It doesn't matter. There's a finite amount of things to actually physically get more revenue. But that's not actually your outcome, because revenue is a result. And I want you to hear this. Revenue is a result. That means literally, if the actions you are doing to gain revenue, you do more of those actions, then revenue is a natural progression of that consistency. So if you're like, what do I need to do, Clint? Solve more problems. Stop chasing revenue and start solving problems. And I'll give you a real world example of this when this really hit home for me. So there was a point in our business where we were going and our business had grown geometrically. We had geometric growth in our business. And we had crossed that 7-figure mark, right, in crazy short amount of time. And we were pouring money into the business because we knew like growth costs, right? But there reached a point where one day I was like, we got to make this amount of money. We got to make this amount of money. And I woke up one day and I realized that freaking target had moved closer. Because I didn't need to make 7 figures by the end of the year. I needed to make $100,000 in less than 30 days, or the business might not exist, right? Because I had payroll I had to do. I had $70,000 worth of payroll to do. I had overhead happening. All of a sudden, that target I had been shooting for revenue, 7 figures, another $1 million, that sucker moved closer. And isn't that what happens in business? We go chasing revenue, but the target moves. Was the revenue you're after this year the same as what it was last year? Probably not, right? Because the target moves. So all of a sudden I had to make $100,000 in new income in 30 days or less. Do you know what I didn't do? I didn't go find revenue. I took action. And at the end of that month, we had made almost $200,000 in 30 days. Never had done that before. In new revenue, I was what? In new revenue, new income, $200,000 in less than 30 days. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I never actually thought about the revenue. I thought about what's the next problem to solve. And I'm telling you, when I did that, revenue was not a problem anymore.
That's awesome. That sounds like, like gaming culture where new level unlocked. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like you leveled up in a way just because you're trying not to lose your life, like in games.
Right.
I'm trying to save I'm down to 20%, I'm down to 20. And like, but then all of a sudden you're like, new level unlocked. I'm a superhero. I didn't even know it. And because the goal wasn't, in that case, the goal wasn't to succeed. The goal was not to die. Like, like
Right.
that was
it was to extend beyond. I
right,
didn't just need the $100,000 for 30 days and then needed it again in
right,
30 days,
right,
right? I needed to create something in that 30 days that would solve the problem of that stinking target moving closer.
right. Exactly. Like that was an immediate need. And I will say, in Action Leaders, we deal with a lot of home care owners come in, and it's for coaching. There's always this big challenge, and I live in very rural America, and if you're used to farm life, sometimes you'll come up on these little animals or lambs, and you're like, how did you get into this spot? Like they had their head stuck in a tree, or they got some kind of weird, and you're like, how did you get here? And I have seen you and Jessica unravel those challenges that those owners, and you're just kind of sitting back thinking, how did you get into this mess? Like, because the challenges are unique and interesting, and inevitably they come in saying, I need more revenue, I need more revenue, I need more revenue. But really there's so many layers to it, and once they get out of that, inevitably they always increase revenue. That happens as a byproduct, like you said. But they have unraveled their own situation to where now the revenue means so much more to them than it would have anyway initially. And I think that's awesome. So, okay, I'm going to latch on to something. You said that it just starts looking different. It just, like, you had this point to where revenue was the goal, and then the paradigm shift. And I feel like a lot of 7-figure owners are sitting here thinking, okay, that sounds like a paradigm shift. That sounds like different than what I'm thinking. So I'm going to follow it up with, what happens when revenue isn't that prime target, isn't the prime directive as much anymore, when it becomes a byproduct almost of what happens? What is that transitional period?
What do you focus on? Right. So, okay, you've been staring at the forest and the trees, and you're like, okay, revenue. And you can go to, I mean, so many coaches out there will get people and they'll be like, you go out and get, 4 24/7 clients, or you go out. Right. And I mean, more power to you if you have the labor and the additional like intestinal fortitude to withstand another ulcer from that much. Right? Go for it. But the reality is, revenue is not the first problem you solve. It's a result. And I love what you're talking about, because it's so true. As I talk to owners that have grown to the 8, the 9, 10-figure businesses, the conversation of revenue actually takes a lesser place. It actually lowers in the value hierarchy of conversation. We're not just talking about revenue. We're actually talking about, what problems do we solve to get to where we're wanting to go? And one of the biggest conversations that shift is a focus more on profit. Now, profit is a buzzword. I can say profit, and owners out there all go, ha, 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 ha. Oh, profit. I love it. So I want to clarify something. I deal in business. You deal in business, right? You're watching this right now. You have a business. When I say profit, I am not talking about the money you go back and buy earrings or boats or vacations with, okay? I'm not talking about what you're retaining from your business. I'm talking about the profit of your business. It's two totally separate things. And the conversation of profit becomes, how can I reinvest the overage in my business back into my business? Because profit is a foundational building block of growth. It costs money to grow. Well, where does that money come from? So if you are in this place and you're like, okay, I'm getting on a call with Jessica. I'm going to have my 10-minute $1 million call, and I'm going to find out how to put $1 million more revenue into my business. If you got off that call and got on a call with me, my statement would be, and how much of that revenue is going back into your business?
Right.
Because that element of what profit really is becomes a major dynamic shift in business, because there's 4 pillars, what I call the pillars of profit. Okay. And I'm going to go through this quick. There's 4 pillars of profit: time, effort, energy, and money. Okay. Time, effort, energy, and money. And they are actually in that order. But when we have the revenue conversation, and you're at the 6-figure, 7-figure agents, you're having this revenue conversation, money is the top tier. I gotta have money, gotta have money, gotta have money. But the reality is, time is actually the most important return you get from whatever you're investing. Is it giving you more time? Is it requiring too much time? What is the effort that's being needed to put into this? I can make $100,000. I can make $200,000 in 30 days, but I promise you, it's not the life I want to live, right? Not yet, because you can systematize, but that goes to the energy, right? How much energy am I putting into this? And then how much money am I spending, or how much money am I earning? When you truly consider profit as more than just a numerical term, but a desired or profitable increase or decrease in time, effort, energy, and money, all of a sudden, you know what? If I have 3 of those things, that's exceptionally profitable. If I get more time from doing something, I can reduce the amount of effort it takes to do it, and I gain energy or the ability to do more, even if it costs right now. That's fine, because money will come,
Right.
because I'm having profitable action. But so often we say, I need to make more money, but it's costing us too much time, or it's eating too much time. It is requiring too much effort, and it's not giving us near the energy to go out and do it again.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. And to understand, to have that business acumen to say money is not the biggest conversation here, allow other things to recognize my time is my non-renewable resource, my time. And I think it was probably you, could have been Jessica, but it was probably, I heard someone say one time that if the KPIs that excite your team the most, excite you the most, you're still thinking like an employee. And I was like,
100%.
Personal
100%.
attack. That's so true. That's so true. Like we use these things as motivation, our team, but you have to step back and say, man, if that's the thing, if my acumen is the same, then I'm thinking in that vein itself. And that's a reality. That's a reality of entrepreneurship.
So the question then becomes, how do you get both?
Right.
How do you get revenue, and how do you get results? And it comes down to truly understanding what is called the theory of constraints. And there's a book called The Theory of Constraints, and I recommend it. It's amazing, but it's by somebody you've never heard of in your life. But like, he's like not a huge author, but it is really good. But how you get both revenue and results is when you understand that revenue is not your pain point. And if right now in your business, revenue is your pain point, and trust me, I have been there, when like I need to make $100,000, right? That's a pain point. Revenue is a pain point. But if revenue is your pain point, you need to identify what the actual problem is, because revenue is a result of solving more problems. Solve that problem first. Now, that doesn't mean it's the biggest problem. It doesn't mean it's the biggest, baddest, hairiest problem you got, but it's the most impactful. It's the most important. That's the true constraint of your business, because revenue isn't your problem. It's the result of the solution you create.
That's awesome. This has been an amazing conversation. We do things well. I'm very proud to say that we do things well in home care ops, but having these conversations brings me back to the roots of why there is success in business and also in the home care industry, because leadership mind is a different perspective. It is a learned skill. It's not this natural, innate born ability. And it makes me appreciate that invested knowledge of a entrepreneur mindset that thinks differently enough to accomplish the results that you want to start with. Like, everybody wants something that they don't know how to attain in life. And revenue is often one of those things that it's just a result. I truly appreciate our time together today. We absolutely.
I have too. You're so awesome.
This has been an amazing experience. I do want to remind you, if you are interested in applying for that 10-minute, $1 million phone call with Jessica, the word you said was million, right? Million. So put that in the comments. We will make sure and send you a link to apply for that. Other than that, go out and chase your goals, chase those KPIs, those measurable things in a realistic way. Use this perspective shift, use this lens change to look at it and say, you know what? I'm tired of chasing revenue when what I really need is results. I'm tired of chasing a symptom when I have a problem to solve. I'm no longer going to focus on a symptom. I'm going to look at the solution. That's the kind of things we do. And that's what we're going to do every single episode of ActionCAST.